If I know what makes you angry, I can control you with a single word. Most people get angry because they think it makes them look strong. It doesn't. It makes them look cheap. It shows everyone in the room exactly how little effort it takes to break your focus. Today, we aren't talking about traditional anger management or basic emotional intelligence. We're talking about strategic silence and how to make it the most expensive thing your enemies ever try to buy. You'll get the protocol for staying unreadable and the one Machiavellian exception. The only moment where showing your teeth is actually a power move. The real issue isn't that anger is bad. The real issue is that anger exposes pattern. Every outburst reveals a map. What triggers you, how fast you spike, what words crack your composure, what status wound you cannot tolerate. Once they have the map, they don't overpower you. They press a sequence. That's how control works in modern life. Not with chains, with patterns. At work, the colleague who watches you react learns when to bait you in meetings. In relationships, the person who studies your spikes learns when to withdraw, when to provoke, when to hand you just enough relief to reset you. In social circles, the group learns your rhythm and schedules pressure around it. Your reaction teaches them your operating system. Hierarchy has one brutal rule. Predictable people get managed. Unreadable people get negotiated with. If they can forecast your behavior, they can design around you. But when your internal state isn't publicly available, the cost of manipulating you rises. They can't script what they can't read. This is why emotional transparency is often sold as virtue while being used as leverage. Just be open. Say exactly how you feel. Leak intelligence in real time. In competitive environments, unfiltered transparency becomes unpaid intelligence for your opposition. Now make one critical distinction. Anger isn't action. Rage is noise. Consequence is power. Rage is performative heat with no structural effect. Raised voice, long text, public post, dramatic exit, emotional monologue. It feels strong in the moment because your body is flooded and your ego feels defended. But if nothing changes afterward, you didn't exercise power. You discharged tension. Power is when behavior changes because a cost was imposed. Power is when a line gets crossed once, a boundary gets enforced once, and the pattern doesn't repeat because the price is real. No theatrics required, no speech required, just consequence. This is where the status tax appears. Every visible loss of control charges a hidden fee in perceived competence. People may agree you were wronged and still downgrade your authority. Watch the micro moment. You raise your voice in a room, then comes that dead half second. Eyes drop to shoes. Someone clears their throat. Nobody looks at you directly. The room doesn't feel your strength. It feels your loss of frame. Then everyone turns toward the quiet person who didn't flinch. Power migrates in real time. Not to the loudest man, to the steadiest one. If you've ever walked out of that room and replayed your outburst in the elevator mirror, you know the social death I'm describing. In that moment, you don't feel like a leader. You feel like a child who was successfully baited. You feel cheap because you were bought for the price of a single insult. Calm has the opposite effect. Calm signals surplus, options, and chosen behavior. Most people lose this game in 3 traps. I'm just being real. I have boundaries, and they need to know I'm serious. Authenticity without strategy becomes legibility. Boundaries without enforcement become requests. Seriousness without consequence becomes theater. Many outbursts aren't strength displays, they're bargaining attempts. Please feel my pain so I don't have to enforce my standard. Skilled players detect that instantly. Your objective must shift from emotional proof to information control. You aren't trying to look unbothered. You're trying to avoid publishing your trigger map. Don't turn your nervous system into a public dashboard. If they can't read your spikes, they can't farm your reactions. If they can't farm your reactions, they must face your terms. And this is exactly where most internet advice collapses into slogans. Always be stoic, never react, alpha calm, cheap lines, no architecture. Let's perform surgery on the source text, not the internet slogans. First correction, clean and non-negotiable. Never let them see you angry isn't a verified line from Machiavelli. It's a modern paraphrase. A useful paraphrase in some contexts, but still a paraphrase. If you want rigor, Anchor in what the prince actually says. Machiavelli's frame is political, not emotional hygiene. He is writing about power survival inside unstable hierarchies. And in that frame, perception isn't cosmetic. Perception is operational reality. He repeatedly emphasizes that people judge by appearances and outcomes. Most people don't know your inner intentions. They read your visible signals and your results. Public emotional behavior is political information. This is why the line often rendered as, "Men judge more by the eye than by the hand" matters. Public perception outruns private motive. If you were right but looked unstable, many audiences will still record you as unstable. This is where beginners misread him. They think Machiavelli says, "Be cruel, lie constantly, feel nothing." What he actually warns about is far more precise. Avoid hatred and contempt. Hatred and contempt aren't moral categories in his analysis. They're risk categories. If your conduct makes large groups hate you, they organize against you. If your conduct makes elites or rivals despise you as weak, erratic, or ridiculous, they challenge you. And visible anger, displayed badly, breeds both. How? Two directions. Direction 1, anger as excess. You overpunish, humiliate publicly, overreact to minor challenges. People stop seeing discipline and start seeing instability. That creates contempt. Direction 2, anger as injury. You make people feel violated at the level Machiavelli marks as politically explosive property and honor. In his framework, touching these zones generates deep hatred and conspiracy risk. Again, not because he is preaching kindness, but because he is mapping consequences. So the question isn't, is anger moral? The question is, what does this display produce in each audience? That's a Machiavellian question. Now add historical context, because it matters. Machiavelli wrote The Prince after Lorenzo de' Medici's family returned in 1512, after his arrest and torture in 1513, and during exile near San Casciano while trying to re-enter power. Written in 1513, printed in 1532, later indexed in 1559, it is survival writing by a man who had seen institutions reverse overnight. That context explains the texture, hard-edged, unsentimental, mechanism over ideals. Unmanaged displays can cost you position, alliances, and life. This is also why we should avoid turning him into a quote poster. When people flatten him into never show anger, they miss his precision. He doesn't hand you blanket bans, he hands you situational instruments. For example, he's deeply concerned with counsel, flattery, information quality, and the ruler's ability to hear truth without becoming easy to manipulate. In that setting, emotional display isn't forbidden, it's calibrated. Here's the split most people miss. The modern Stoic fantasy says the strong man is always a statue. As Seneca wrote in On Anger, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. But Machiavelli's prince isn't a statue. He's a surgeon. Machiavelli wasn't a monk. He was a survivor. He knew that a man who never shows teeth is just as easy to manage as a man who always barks. That's the open loop from the beginning of this video. Yes, there's one context where visible displeasure is strategically permitted, even recommended, when enforcing truthful counsel inside your advisory circle. Not as ego leakage, as governance. Hold that, because this is where most stay calm content fails. It treats all heat as weakness. Machiavelli is subtler. Uncontrolled heat is weakness. Disciplined heat can be a tool. Now the part people miss. Machiavelli doesn't ban anger, he weaponizes it. In chapter 23, while discussing flatterers and counsel, Machiavelli gives a principle many people ignore because it ruins their favorite slogan, and this connects directly to Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, which draws heavily from this precise insight. A ruler should invite truth from trusted advisors, but if someone withholds truth for private reasons, he should let displeasure be felt. Even the translation nuance matters. The Italian term often rendered here carries the sense of being disturbed or angered in response to withheld truth. That's not permission for chaos. It's permission for calibrated signal. The purpose is institutional. Protect truth flow at the center of power. That single instruction changes everything. It means emotional display is acceptable in one narrow lane, protecting information integrity inside your inner circle. Not venting, not theatrics. Protecting decision quality. Translate that to modern life. Anger is for enforcing standards among insiders, not for broadcasting wounds to rivals. This gives you the two audiences model. Audience 1, insiders. These are people with privileged access to your decisions and trust. Here, standards must be explicit and violations costly. If insiders can hide information, flatter, or distort without consequence, your system decays from the center. In this audience, brief, visible displeasure can be functional. It marks the line. It tells the room. Withholding truth has a price. Think executive teams, partners, lieutenants, and anyone whose filtered reporting can distort your decisions. Your inner circle must fear your standards more than they fear your temper. If they do, you get better intelligence. Audience 2, outsiders. These are competitors, adversaries, opportunists, and casual observers. Here, your objective is deterrence plus ambiguity. You don't hand outsiders emotional telemetry. You don't advertise what bruises your ego. You don't gift rivals your trigger map. In this audience, composure is armor. To your enemies, you must be a black box. No data in, no telemetry out. When they can't read you, they can't predict you. And nothing terrifies a manipulator more than a target they can't predict. Your silence forces them to overthink, overreach, and eventually expose themselves. So how do you display displeasure without losing frame? Use disciplined displeasure. Brief, specific, consequence forward. Brief. No long speeches, no emotional history dumps, no looping argument. Specific. Identify the exact violation, not the person's identity. Consequence forward. Define what changes next. Example language. This update omitted material risk. That cannot happen again. From now on, I want risk flags in writing before final review. That is force without frenzy. What you don't do. You don't explain your pain in detail. You don't seek social permission in the same moment you're enforcing standards. You don't hand over 15 minutes of reactive narrative that teaches everyone how to destabilize you next time. Now the failure modes. Failure mode 1, public tantrums. High heat, low precision. You may dominate the room for 90 seconds and lose authority for 9 months. Failure mode 2, sarcasm spirals. You think you're controlled because your voice is calm, but your contempt leaks through mockery. This erodes trust and invites quiet sabotage. Failure mode 3, long speeches. Length is often insecurity-wearing rhetoric. The longer you talk while angry, the more intelligence you leak. Failure mode 4, absolute language. You always, you never. These are lazy cognition markers that make your claim easy to dismiss. Failure mode 5, emotional bargaining. After all I've done, do you know how this made me feel? In operational settings, this signals dependency, not command. Use the micro protocol instead. Step 1, pause. 3 breaths minimum. If possible, change posture and lower your voice before speaking. You're buying separation between impulse and action. This is what neuroscientists call the prefrontal override, your higher brain centers regaining control over the amygdala's fight-or-flight response. Step 2, label the violation. 1 sentence, observable behavior only, no diagnosis, no motive reading. Step 3, set cost. State the consequence or new condition. Make it enforceable. Step 4, exit. End the exchange. Don't negotiate during adrenaline. Return later with action already in motion. That's disciplined displeasure. Notice what happened. Anger was converted from performance into policy. And this is the deeper power move. You're not proving you can feel. You're proving you can govern. With the principle clear, you need a field manual for real-life provocation. You need a system you can run under pressure, not a quote you forget when triggered. Use this 5-phase protocol. Create time buffer before response. No instant replies to provocation when possible. No immediate send on emotional texts. No same-minute reaction email. Your first job is physiological control. Face, breath, voice speed, shoulder tension. If your body's broadcasting agitation, your words don't matter. Practical rule. When heat rises, shift from real-time reaction to scheduled response. I'll get back to you at 4 p.m. That sentence alone can save your position. Build 2 default delay lines in advance so you don't improvise under heat. Noted. I'll respond at 4 p.m. I'll review and get back to you shortly. Phase 1 is about survival. If you fail here, the next 4 phases never happen. Reduce words, remove emotional adjectives, speak in observable facts and next steps. Better, you interrupted 3 times and changed the agreed scope. We will use the written agenda next meeting. Narrow language does 2 things. It lowers legal social risk and raises command clarity. Phase 2 is about dominance. Survival keeps you from collapsing. Precision lets you steer. Replace anger display with consequence. If boundary violated, enforce a cost linked to behavior. Reduced access, changed process, documented escalation, removed privilege, adjusted timeline, formal review. No consequence, no boundary. Use a cost ladder. First breach, process correction. Second breach, access reduction. Third breach, role consequence. Quietly climbing that ladder protects your frame better than one dramatic explosion ever will. Real-world example. A friend disrespects you in front of a group to climb status. You don't argue in public. You don't perform hurt. You stop inviting him to high-value rooms. No explanation, no debate. The silence and the exclusion do the work. That's a Machiavellian cost. Phase 3 is where authority becomes visible, not through volume, through consequences. Track your triggers privately. Log 5 fields. Who triggered you? What exactly triggered you? Your internal story, your response, and the outcome. This isn't diary writing. This is compiling a vulnerability audit. Patterns in your trigger log reveal your exploitable seams. Once identified, you can pre-train responses and remove those buttons from public use. Phase 4 is counterintelligence. You're mapping the angles before someone else uses them. This closes the open loop. Visible displeasure can work, but only when scarce, short, and disciplinary. Not ego-driven, not repetitive. Why scarcity matters. Frequent anger becomes background noise. Rare anger becomes a signal event. If you're angry every week, people stop hearing content and only hear weather. If you show controlled displeasure twice a year around non-negotiable standards, people remember the line. Use selective heat for breaches that threaten truth, trust, or mission-critical standards inside your inner circle. Even then, keep format tight. 1 sentence identifying breach, 1 sentence setting consequence. Then done. No monologue, no revenge theater. Phase 5 is scarcity economics. If heat is rare, it's feared. If heat is constant, it's background noise. This is how you stay cold without becoming weak. Cold isn't passivity. Cold is response latency, precision language, and enforced consequence. Weakness is either extreme, constant reactivity, or constant avoidance. Build the middle path, unreadable to rivals, unambiguous to insiders. When provoked, ask, what signal does this audience need, and what outcome do I require? One final instruction, then you leave. Anger makes you legible. Legible people get played. Strategic silence isn't suppression. It's control of information, timing, and cost. Stay calm in public, enforce standards in private, and let consequences speak louder than emotion. Subscribe if you've got the stomach for this truth.